Bolton came up. John Bolton had also been in the Trump administration, left it, and wrote a tell-all book. And here is what Dobbs and Grisham had to say about that book.
John Bolton, the president's former national security advisor, writing a book, a tell-all, if you will. I've never heard of such a thing. No one that I know, who I know, has ever heard of it. What a rancid, corrupt, absolutely disgusting move for him to have made.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. Here's a man who purports to care about the national security of this country, and to leave the White House and immediately go write a book. It's really disappointing, and clearly he's trying to sell a book. I mean, obviously the information came out with the New York Times last night, and then a couple of hours later, magically the pre-order link was live. Really, really unfortunate stuff. I'm sad to see that it's happening. We don't even know what's in the book is going to be true. The president has made clear that none of the things that are being claimed right now are true.
Yeah. So when she was, getting paid to be loyal to Trump during this time that she now, like if you read the book, she says she was growing incredibly disillusioned. She felt that Trump was a con man, irrational, and all of that. She was still doing these appearances, defending them and attacking people who were doing the exact same thing that she was immediately doing. Her book is coming out like any day. She was criticizing him for writing it like a minute after he left. She left the White House earlier this year. Like, what do we think that she hadn't already started with an outline at that point? Anyway, Brett, what do you thought?
They don't care. It's weird, like they're the ones in the house, like they're the ones in like this little case, that like this little aquarium, but their audience is goldfish with the 7-second memory. Like, you guys, they're like, yep, that's right, good point. And they're all you're trying to find out the explanation for why everyone is like this. Is it because they're Republicans? Is it because they're on TV? Is it because they work in the Trump White House? Are they opportunists? The answer is they just want to be like rich and influential, period, at any cost. And they know, I mean, she was the press secretary, she did Melania, and then she did Trump. And like that's her job, is to know what plays well. And so she's going to do her calculus and then find out what plays the best. Not for the president, because it played well for the president was the priority for her back then, because that was what kept her in the job. But now it's what plays well for her. And if the media can pardon George W. Bush for being as big a horrible war criminal as he was, and think of him fondly in the light of the sunset, then her calculus is, well, people barely knew who I was when I was saying all that stuff. But true. They respond very well when someone appears from the ether and says horrible stuff about Donald Trump. I'm one of those people.
Yeah,
but I was not one of those people saying, good point, Stephanie, when she was talking trash about John Bolton. I was talking trash about him, but for a different reason.
That's true. You're a John Bolton hipster. And we're also acknowledging why she's doing this, and because she had a change of heart, she had a change of financial circumstance when she left her job. Anyway, Brett, as always, thank you for joining us. Although not as always, it's Tuesday. We might or might not see you on Thursday, depending on if you want to do it. It's open to you, but thank you for being here today on the show. Appreciate you filling in. And for those of you at home, Indisputable is coming up, so stick around, don't go anywhere unless you're on YouTube, in which case you should go to youtube.com/indisputablethYT. Until next time, stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and I'll see you soon.
It's indisputable. Welcome. Good to be with you. We got a lot on the agenda today. Breaking down news of the day. We have Adrienne Lawrence, attorney at law, author, and TYT contributor. And joining me in the bullpen will be Ash Wright, Republican strategist. We will talk about the crisis at the border, according to Ms. Wright. All right. My first story of the day: racism inside of schools are reflective of racism at home. There's a student who has gone viral for saying the N-word and other racial slurs. I want to focus on the parents and the school system. Let me take you to a place called McDonough, Georgia. Some parents at Eagles Landing Christian Academy are outraged after a video that showed a student making racial remarks surfaced. In the video, the student can be heard using the N-word and other racial slurs. A parent said, and I quote, "This has been, I want to say, the underlying environment that my child has been exposed to," said former Eagles Landing Christian Academy parent Laura Perry. Now, Laura Perry, after this incident and really other incidents combined, took her child out of that school system, okay? It gets deeper. Perry said she recently enrolled her son in public school after she claims he was discriminated against at Eagles Landing Christian Academy. There are people in power. Now I want you to remember this, people in power, talking about the administrators of that institution, that are ignorant to the fact that there is some racism at the school. Perry said. One parent forwarded Washington an email originally sent from the academy's headmaster, and I'm gonna read that to you, but I want you to think about what this parent has said. She says there's ignorance about racism at this Christian academy. I disagree, madam, all due respect to the parent. It's not ignorance, it's protection. You see, the reason why they're not cracking down on this is because they can identify with the racism that exists. It permeates from a common place. So they protect these students rather than implementing systemic remedies to get rid of it. I will show you that in just a moment. The statement from the school said, a video of one of our high school students using racial slurs was posted on social media and shared in the ELCA community. Okay, that's a statement of fact. The ELCA does not tolerate this behavior, and the student has been disciplined by administration. I am grateful that we are in a Christian community that can not only hold one another accountable, but provide grace and mercy. Grace and mercy at the end of that statement means they're not going to do a damn thing about it. That's what that means. And their response is a response to the student rather than a response to the culture of Eagles Landing Christian Academy. And multiple parents have gone on record to say that this is a cultural issue at that school. Not the first, not the second, but many reports of racism inside of that school system. That is happening right now at this Christian Learning Academy. One of the parents went on record and had her face blurred and would not submit her name to local reporters because she was afraid of retaliation. I mean, damn, is this a Christian institution or the mafia? Maybe they're one and the same. Ain't no gangbanger like a white Christian evangelical. Talk about thuggery. She was afraid, like in witness protection. She was afraid of their level of retaliation in that local community. Think about that for a minute. Let that sink in. Let me show you a picture of the headmaster for the school, Dr. Timothy R. Hahn. That's him. He's the guy in charge. Yeah. Now, let me also remind you that while we are focusing on children, many in the social media world, they're focusing on the racism from the child. I want you to remember that in that same county, after that county had a city called Stockbridge, and Stockbridge finally received black leadership, meaning a black mayor, Black City Council, Black everything. The Eagles Landing community in that same county wanted to leave the city of Stockbridge that just got Black leadership. Let me read this to you. It was a ballot initiative to partition off the most affluent and overwhelmingly white population sections of Stockbridge from its predominantly Black communities. It failed during a midterm vote. By a vote of 3,473 in favor and 4,545 in opposition, residents in the existing Henry County city rejected a controversial proposal to carve out a new town to be called what? Eagles Landing from within its boundaries. So you mean to tell me that the parents of this community are so damn afraid of Black people that as soon as the Black city, Stockbridge, got a Black mayor, they decided to file paperwork to leave the Black city and to make themselves their own city? No wonder these students are acting this way in this institution. Adrian, thoughts?
Well, I think what we have is just a reflection of our society here. As we've seen before with Georgia State Board of Education voting, essentially endorsing Brian Kemp's opposition to teaching critical race theory. And we're seeing the product of things like this where we have an abundance of ignorance going on. And we also have a highly segregated area there in Henry County. The school district itself is 51% Black, but this Eagles Landing Christian Academy is 70% white. Why? Because the school district itself has a high degree of segregation between Black students and white students. So essentially what individuals are doing down there, whether they are fully cognizant of it or not, is that they are keeping Black and white students separated, and they are continuing to maintain this racial hierarchy that is going on and feigning ignorance when they see explicit acts of racism as they're seeing in this situation.
Yeah, well said. Let me bring you to another story, and this has got to stop. This is why, another reason why people don't like the police. Okay, this is a Philly cop who antagonized a young Black male, calling him homie and all kind of ridiculous things in order to effect an arrest. Here's the video.
I got my camera too. We'll take selfies. Come on, I need your selfie. Come on, homie. Look at me and my homie right here.
I'm not your homie.
No, look at this guy. Look at me and my homie.
Sir, can you please back up?
What's up?
If I'm not committing a crime or anything
You're
in
not
that
committing
sort.
a crime. Who said you're committing a crime? You want to take a
please
picture?
back up?
I thought you want to take a picture.
No,
Oh, you just ran into a hole.
I'm sick. Yeah, because you're scaring me.
You walk into
I don't want to get shot. I'm Black.
You're not
Please
Black.
back up.
I'm allowed to be here. It's a free country.
All right, me too.
Why are you chasing me around now?
I'm not chasing you around.
Why are you
If you
talking to
move
me?
and you
Do you
follow
need my
me.
assistance?
No, I do not.
You don't need me for anything?
No.
Why are you still here? Walk away.
I am walking away. Why are you following me?
Why are
Your
you in a
car is
gunshot
back
zone?
there.
Huh?
Because I can. It's a
Why is my
neighborhood.
partner
I
over
gotta live down here.
Why do you live down here? You don't live down here.
Okay, let you tell it.
You don't live down here.
Okay, let you tell it.
Boy, you don't live down here.
Okay.
You ain't from down here.
Okay. Can I get your name and badge number, sir?
That's right there, dog.
Thank you.
You got it?
Yep,
You got
thank
it?
you.
You got it?
Thank you. Why are you putting a light on my face, sir?
What?
I have more. This happened in Philadelphia. This cop was following this young Black male who became afraid and decided to start recording this cop. And then you see exactly what the officer does. Says, let's take a selfie. I'm going to take a selfie with my homie, just antagonizing the hell out of this kid. Unbecoming, unprofessional, and yes, racist. Okay, this is bigoted behavior. It gets deeper. The officer, his name is Hoover, of the Philadelphia Police Department. Gabriel is a young man. He was leaving his aunt's home on New Year's Eve. He saw two officers, one being Hoover. They were in the area when it appeared Hoover started to follow him. At one point, Gabriel did ask for a supervisor, which Hoover, the officer, completely ignored. Another violation of protocol. Gabriel then tried to make his way back home. The cop continued to follow him. Gabriel kept his distance. Here's the second video.
I'm walking right now. I'm walking to my aunt's house. I feel threatened. Then I'm gonna call an Uber and then leave. At this moment, I am now recording him just to show that I am not doing anything threatening to him or anything in that nature. I'm not following you. I'm walking to my aunt.
Why are you following me?
I'm not following you. I told you.
This was shared on Lackluster, the YouTube cop watch group, remarkable group of people. Gabriel shared with Lackluster that he was cited. He was cited for disorderly conduct and possession of a small amount of marijuana, charges he is still fighting today. Gabriel has since filed a complaint against the officer and plans to file a lawsuit. Let's go ahead and make this cop famous. Let's put up a still of his name and his badge number. His name is Hoover. His badge number is 3279, clearly shown in the screenshot. So far, no statement has been made by the department as to whether or not they have acknowledged the video or calls for accountability, period. Hoover, this same cop, put his picture up again. This same cop was also involved with other officers in another case of false arrest and excessive force. You don't say. Now remember, this young black male is simply leaving his aunt's home. He's not bothering this officer. Adrian, in the court of law, what is it when an officer decides to antagonize a citizen this way?
Well, it definitely seems to be a form of harassment. And you could arguably say you're hitting the level of excessive force depending on how much contact he made with the individual. But the thing is, as you had mentioned, the police department hasn't issued a statement, but I would beg to differ. The fact is that their entire legacy is a statement in its own. They have a well-documented record of race discrimination and police brutality against black residents. There was a DOJ report released in 2015 that found that even though crime was decreasing and police shootings, well, they started to increase, and 80% of the people killed by police in Philly between 2007 and 2014 were black. The fact is that you have a department with a long history of harassing, mistreating, brutalizing, and killing black people. And so these officers and their actions, as much as this young man tried to protect himself, the fact is it will continue to happen because that's what is allowed and permitted, which is why it continues to occur there.
And this young man did everything he could do. He tried to keep his distance. He said, I'm basically not a threat. He wasn't trying to be aggressive with this police officer. He wanted to simply leave his aunt's home and not be accosted. Okay, Missouri school, very proud of these students, very proud of them. They walked out. You know why they walked out? Because their school administration has failed them. This administration has failed to protect them, has failed to take the issue of bullying seriously. Let me give you some background to what happened in Missouri. Hundreds of students walked out of Lee's Summit High School Monday morning to show their support for Danny Lillis. Let's put up a picture of Danny. Danny is a strong individual. More than 2,500 people also signed a petition in support of him. Here's one of the walkouts recorded, and I want to remind you, this is because the school failed to protect this young man. Here it is. They do need to be heard, and they will be heard here. These students are protesting because Mr. Lillis, let's put up his picture again. He is in fact openly gay. He said he started wearing makeup to school and then said a group of boys started bullying him and his friends at the institution. Lillis said that the bullying had been going on for a while, but last week there was a fight between one of those boys and one of his friends. At least 3 students were suspended because of the fight and missed their senior homecoming over the weekend. The friend, her name is Milani, had a broken nose. Milani's mother, Milani Davis, said the school never called the parents whatsoever. She said the school told her they would only need to make an immediate call if there was a medical emergency. Now, damn it, if somebody breaks my kid's nose, that's a medical emergency. If my child was knocked on the ground by a male student and her nose is bleeding and her lip is fat, that is a medical emergency, the mother said, and I completely concur. Many parents and students are citing the school's inaction to handle bullying overall. This has been a groundswell. They have complained. They have tried to have meetings about safety plans. All of this has happened with absolutely no remedy, according to the students and according to the parents. Lilith's mom, as well as parents of other students involved in the fight, said the violence is the result of bullying not being nipped in the bud months ago. The district said yesterday in a statement that it is investigating the bullying claims. Lilith said he brought the student administration or STAD several harassment reports. Mom, Missy Lillis, even met with the assistant principal to work out a safety plan weeks ago. The students saw it coming. They saw it coming. And we tell them to be responsible, to contact an adult, to speak with administration, to let your parents know everything was done correctly by these students. All right. Danny's mom was told there will be extra staff on hand in the lunchroom to mitigate ongoing issues. The day of the fight, students said there were none. One mom told Fox 4 the school blamed a breakdown in communication. That's a bunch of baloney. They are seeking legal advice here. Attorney, I see a failure to protect here. I see some negligence happening. They knew this was coming. They tried to warn. The school administration, according to both the parents and the students, school administration did not take any good faith measures to stop it.
Yes, it's an absolute problem. The fact that they didn't do anything despite knowing that it was a potential problem or was a problem, that's really acquiescing to the fact that there is a problem here. You have that harassment element. And also the fact is that we already know an unprecedented 15% of Gen Zers are LGBTQIA+. So
right.
These schools should be ready and should be prepared because of truth, of coming in and being true and authentic to their own, to individual selves. And the fact that the school is not prepared for that and is also not responding to that half of the administration, and they need to be held accountable. And a lawsuit is a way to get that done.
Well said. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
Well, the Young Turks, the Friday show is gonna be awesome. We're gonna help us over here. Drop it. We became the first ever daily online web television show.
No, the Constitution is the very core of America. The fact that we don't spy on American citizens, that we get a warrant, that we go to a judge, that we have a procedure, that we have due process, that is America.
On top of it, they go, why don't they just stay at their own schools? You gotta realize something. These schools suck. They want people to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. You ain't got no straps, you ain't got no boots.
He lit these fires in trash bins all around town out of frustration.
99th most viewed channel today on YouTube.
The Shorties Award.
Best web host.
We passed 1 billion views. Voice Award winner, News and Information Channel, The Young Turks. Oh, another Webby.
The Young Turks.
Can I curse? Yeah! For those of you watching on live stream, yes, we have adopted a pet iguana that showed up at our door.
Haunted version in the dark with our silhouettes.
Now let's get to the best line of the debate. And it was definitely the one against Fox. I told you we were coming.
When you talk about it when it becomes a problem. Our lack of gun control is a problem.
Nonsense BS story is hurting that cause, and they need to wake up and recognize that they are being had by these people.
Biggest gang in America. Question is, how do we make sure that we blame the person who is dead? What kind of democracy is that?
We should never forget that the most powerful people in the world exploited the greatest tragedy in American history to go to war in a country that had a lot of oil.
Rolling thunder. That's what this show is.
Never in my life did I think I would like to see a dictator. But if there's going to be one, I want it to be Trump.
Tick-tock, tick-tock.
Where's the line? We've crossed every line you can imagine.
We are a socialist country. It's socialism for the rich.
Tick-tock, tick-tock.
You don't have to know the truth, just believe what they tell you.
There is no bounds to their monstrous hypocrisy.
Tick-tock.
I think we're gonna win the Senate in 2020. And I think we're gonna have the House, and I think we're gonna have the presidency.
Tick-tock.
And in 2020, we're going to clean your clock, and we're gonna run you out of town, and we're gonna have an actual democracy in this country.
November of 2020 could also be potentially the greatest day of our lives. Let us whisper of a dream.
Back to back that I like. Say hi to the camera.
I don't like this.
Welcome back. It's indisputable. We have a lot of show left. Let me remind everyone, we've been nominated by Atlanta Magazine, this show. I would love for you to be supportive. Best TV anchor. You can vote on that. We're nominated. This will be Indisputable's first award if we win the recognition. Real simple to vote. Go to tyt.com/Rashad. tyt.com/RASHAD. type in my name, Rashad Richey, in the box and submit your vote, all right? You have until October 11th and you can vote once a day. Those are the rules. Also, Deep Dive with Jordan Yule right after Indisputable, 4 p.m. Eastern time and 1 p.m. Pacific time. That's a Twitch exclusive, twitch.tv/TYT. And don't forget about the conversation, 5:30 p.m. Eastern time, 2:30 p.m. Pacific time, tyt.com/live, right before the Young Turks. And you can also subscribe and watch all of the great interviews at youtube.com/TYT conversation. Let me read these comments. They're coming in hot and heavy. TYT member Eileen Funky Cold Medina Mama Dragon. Anybody using the word boy towards any black person deserves nothing less than to be fired. You can't unteach racism. JMD, that's my high school. I love to see them protesting for what's right. We did a sit-in my senior year to make the Christmas program inclusive instead of canceling it to avoid inclusivity. Good for the kids. All right, yeah, it's good stuff. And is it not ironic that usually the administration and the parents are saying, we need to stop bullying. Students need to get on board with stopping bullies, no bullying. And this is completely the opposite. It's amazing. Nolia Brunini, I think I said that right. The name of the city the eagle is landing says it all. MAGA. Bernard the Kiwi Dragon. A parent can get cited for child neglect if they don't tend to a broken arm straight away, but the school gets away with not informing the parents immediately. Right, according to the school, having a male punch a young lady in the nose and busting her lip and landing her in the hospital is not in fact a medical emergency at Eagles Landing Christian Academy, where, by the way, I'm sure part of their slogan is all lives matter. All right, Jacqueline Chastain. Hi, Dr. Richey. Every day I can't wait to watch you and set my timer. Well, bless your heart. Thank you for that. Sweet peas. I had a son that was bullied. Anti-bully policies are just words on paper. They mean nothing if the administration does not adhere to their own rules. That's right. It's called infraction without enforcement. Infraction is only as powerful as the enforcement behind it. You have zero enforcement, you have no infraction. I don't care what the policy says. All right, Twitch. Mad Native Dragon. Boy, isn't that what the KKK and slave owners will call black men as a form of superiority? Yes. Pat Terrific. He never should have had a badge. Hold the police academy and superior officers accountable. If they cannot weed out these losers, they should lose their accreditation or their rank. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday?
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
At this point, do you really care what the argument was about? No. This is a throwback, Karen. This happened a little while ago, but it is now making the rounds on social media very strong. This particular Karen, in her, I guess, argument, made the case in her action that when there's disagreement, she should be allowed to spit on somebody and walk away. Now, this is not how normal people resolve conflict, but Karenicity, ladies and gentlemen, has taken a hold of this woman in that situation. Okay, attorney Adrian Lawrence, spitting on somebody is in fact a crime, right?
That's right. It's an assault. That is absolutely disgusting.
And listen, can this be a felony? I mean, damn, like that wasn't regular spit. So let me ask you this. At this point, I'm wondering, is there a statutory upgrade? Because I know the misdemeanor offense, right? But when it's a spitball like that, I hate to be so graphic, but goodness, that made everybody cringe when they saw it, right?
Absolutely, because she was sitting there hawking and flemming and getting ready to shoot it at him.
Ready.
Oh my goodness, it's just absolutely disgusting, disrespectful, all levels of gross. And this is how we end up with situations where things escalate to violence.
Yeah.
Because this is a form of violence, even if it's just at the initial steps. That is just filthy. I hope that woman is called out in every regard.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting that she would do this not knowing what his reaction would be, right? She doesn't know this guy. There's no indication that they know each other. They are at a game. You spit on somebody, bad things can happen to you. And I'm not promoting violence, but I am making a factual observation. If you walk around and you spit on somebody that you're in a verbal argument with, we verbally argue, it's part of humanity. But if you spit on them, that's the first attack, right? That's how the law would look at it, correct?
Absolutely, no, that would be a form of assault, easily. We've seen individuals be prosecuted for spitting on police officers, just as spitting on individuals and people. These kind of things are completely and totally unacceptable.
Let me tell you something else that's unacceptable, Adrian. There's a cop writing a ticket to a white male. He then hears a black guy walking down the street rapping and decides to arrest the black guy instead. I'm not making this up, and I kid you not. Let me take you to the first video.
2-3 times a day, man.
You got to bring it down. You got to bring it down. You got solid profanity out your mouth walking down the road here. I ain't trying to be disrespectful, nothing like that. But you don't worry about nobody. What you mean? Don't be cussing walking down the road. Don't nobody care about nobody. Peace. It's a free country. You know what I mean? Come on. But you ain't gonna disturb everybody. You understand that? Come on with that. Come on. But you keep on walking and you do it quietly. You understand that? I'm getting tired of y'all harassing me, bro. I ain't harassing you, but you ain't gonna be walking down the road. So why you raising your voice? Everybody else here. So why you raising your voice? Tell you what, you got about 5 seconds. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Don't let me catch you walking down the road. May I ask what your name is, sir? My name is Tucker. 998. Write it down. Oh, okay. Gotta take a picture of it, please. Sure can. Come on, sir. Come on, please. Please, sir. He's got 5 seconds. I'm telling you tonight, so I can make a report. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking. What's your name? I'm asking you for your name. I'm about to ask for your name now. Come on, man. You can open my phone so you can call my wife's phone. Come on, man. I ain't did nothing to nobody. That's I'm asking you your name. Come on, man. The cigarettes and the lighter. Alright, that's it. Come on, man. Then you grab me around my throat? Really? Really? Excuse me, sir. Can you grab my phone and call my wife for me, please? Get his ID, let's. You got the ID on me? No, I ain't got no ID. That's why I'm telling y'all to call my wife. She got everything.
If you're outraged, I have more video. I want to remind you that this young black male was simply walking down the street. He had his headphones in his ear. He was rapping a rap song. And all of a sudden, the cop who was writing a ticket to a white male resident there decided to stop writing a ticket in order to go and lock up a black male for doing nothing illegal whatsoever. It gets deeper. They admit what they've done. Here it is.
Hey, Mom. Man, the police got me in hands because they harassed me again, man. Yeah, and this man grabbed me by my throat and threw me to the ground while I'm in handcuffs.
What's this? That's him.
Man, because they talking about I'm disturbing the peace because I'm banging. Then you just walking down the road, you just pick me up off the ground any kind of way. And I almost fell on my face.
Is that what this is?
Ma'am.
He's disturbing the peace because he's walking down the road with headphones in his ears.
He's walking down the road with headphones in his ears and he's cursing loudly.
What? They just admitted it's bull, right? Of course they did. Literally, the cars passing by were louder than him. You have to put this in context. People who are playing their music driving by, cars, the sound of the engine driving by, louder than him. And he's walking on a public sidewalk near a street rapping, and that is illegal according to these cops. But we know that's bogus, right? This was all about this young black male inserting his right and saying, "Sir, can I get your badge number?" That's what this arrest was about. This arrest was about, you don't dare tell me what your rights are. Think about how sick a person has to be in charge of law enforcement and absolutely care nothing about the law. You're a sick individual. The irony of it. Let me give you background. The Georgia police detained and cited a black man in Hezbollah for singing rap music too loud while he was walking home. According to the Augusta Chronicle, Christopher Jefferson was walking down Brothersville Road singing a rap song when police approached him on the sidewalk. Officers then told Jefferson he was being loud and obnoxious and could be heard shouting, "I need a bad blank, I need a real blank," as he walked down the street. The officers ended up detaining him for disorderly conduct, but the body cam was later uploaded, revealed there was no actual disorderly conduct, okay? Let me go to what happened in court. So this actually went all the way to court. The young man said, "I'm not taking a plea deal, give me a jury. Give me a jury, good for you, brother." He gets a jury, goes to court. During the court hearings, which took place Wednesday, September 29th, Jefferson declined a guilty plea deal and requested a trial by jury. The police chief, Matthew Mercer, and Officer Brian Tucker both testified against Jefferson and provided their version of events in court, hand in glove, right? During their testimony, Officer Tucker said when he initially heard Jefferson, he believed there was a fight going on. Oh my God, a black man rapping, it must be somebody fighting. Just think about how crazy that is. He hears a black guy rapping lyrics and he thinks somebody is fighting. They also said that Jefferson was screaming curse words less than 500 feet away from the residence on Brothersville Road. After Judge Freddie Sanders heard arguments from the officers involved, he ruled there was probable cause to cite Jefferson. Jefferson was then issued a continuance and the new court date is October 27th. Adrian, we only have a minute left, but sister, tell me, if you were his lawyer, you could defend this guy in a court of law with no problem.
Absolutely, without question. Playing that video enough, it says that this officer had an issue with the fact that that gentleman is black and that he was not willing to know or stay in his place just by virtue of the fact that he wanted to walk down the street and sing a song. That was problematic enough. This is really what implicit bias and racism has to do and what is going to do to this gentleman's life. This is really a problem here, and it is disgraceful that the justice system is essentially rubber stamping this.
And the young man was so respectful. He did it the right way. He was polite. He said, "I'm not trying to be disrespectful." And then he said, "But I want to file a report." You have a right to do that. You have a right, damn it, to do that. All right, we got more on the other side. Stick and stay.
We are onto something that is going to be amazing, but what we need is your help.
The number one problem is there's too much power in too few hands.
Every single problem that we have can be traced back to dark money.
They take large donors, they serve large donors.
So these handful of gatekeepers try to dictate everything.
Like all of you already know, they don't work for you, they work for their donors. So fire them and hire people who will only work for you that say no corporate backed money.
We are going to change the way we elect candidates in this country.
Uncorrupted Democrats. We're gonna fight for the issues and win on policy.
This is incredibly personal. We need free healthcare for everyone.
We're fighting for $15 minimum wage, single payer healthcare, debt-free college, and we are gonna get money out of politics once and for all.
I've taken a public pledge not to accept any corporate money.
Because the last thing we're gonna do is go into another presidential election
and run a corporatist against a populist candidate.
At some point, the buck needs to stop, and it's gonna stop with us. It's gonna stop with Justice Democrats.
So who are we?
People who do not take corporate PAC money.
We're relying on small donors.
99.9% of our contributions came from people.
You're a Justice Democrat, so you don't take any corporate PAC money.
I'm not influenced by money.
As a Justice Democrat, I made that pledge.
Not a betting.
Absolutely not.
I will go to Congress unbossed and unbought.
We try to create a government which works for all of us.
That is what America's about, and that's what a representative democracy should be about.
We are just getting warmed up here.
Vote for uncorrupted Democrats. The fight starts now, it starts today, and it starts with you.
I've been honest with him. Like, yeah, I was upset with you and I shouldn't have done it. But instead I was like, I'm just trying to protect my engagement ring.
Did you know that more than 20% of the world's oxygen comes from the Amazon? Why? Because of trees. I know what you're thinking. Of course! So what do we want to do? We want to plant more trees so we can save the climate. It's quite literal. So that's what leads to our new partner, Plant Your Change. Love it. It's so easy. What they do is you take the credit or debit cards you already have and you plug it into the system. And if you so choose, you get to round up every purchase to the nearest dollar and they plant a tree for you, okay? Now you could also choose if you wanna do it on only certain kinds of purchases or only so often, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But literally every cent makes a difference here. It's Plant Your Change. And if you wanna know more information, just go to tyt.com/trees. Let's go save the planet together.
Now, top. No. No. No.
Today, a terrible day for the internet, a terrible day for America. The internet as we know it is not going to exist anymore.
A real dark day for information and yet another way that they're bleeding out the democracy.
We're now going to have these gatekeepers of information deciding what we can and can't see, and that's what scares me the most.
Whether you're conservative or progressive or anywhere in the middle, this is the one thing we should all agree to. Protect the internet, because the establishment is coming for it. Don't let them destroy the internet.
All right, welcome back. We got a lot of show left. Okay, let's go to some of these comments. Amazing comments, by the way. TYT member Lynn says, disgusting. I can't believe how many people spit in these videos. Who thinks of doing that? Yeah, just be anti-racist. Walking and singing while black will get you arrested, damn shame. And you know this would not have happened if let's say, a white guy was singing a song or singing a country song. None of this would have ever happened under any other circumstance but a black man rapping, okay? I Am Sock says, if being loud and obnoxious is a crime, Ben Shapiro better hide immediately. YouTube Super Chat, thank you, DJ Threes. Peter Hamby, thank you. If socks for Karen, it's socks for Karen. She was seething red of rage. She was no boss, ton. Haiku. Dad jokes that Jank will laugh at. All right, Mike V, violation of freedom of speech. Where are the so-called constitutional conservatives who stormed the Capitol to defend this brother's American rights? Exactly, yeah. Now this would have happened to a guy that had on a MAGA hat. Oh, the whole situation would have been different. As a matter of fact, the cop would have started rapping with the MAGA hat wearing guy. That's what, maybe we need to do that now in some of these rural communities, all right? Just start putting on a MAGA hat when you know you're in a certain town. Don't do that. Please don't do that. All right, DJ Threes, Dr. Richard did call out my Canadian immigrant privilege yesterday though. I had to hide my hockey jerseys and maple syrup cans. That's funny. Twitch, Sammy Lynn, the Kind Dragon. Adrian's face is exactly how I feel about it. I saw that too. Dragon Penny, a man arrested for asking the cop's name. That's all it takes. Yeah. Acting more like slave patrol than public servants, right? Okay. FBI, ladies and gentlemen, the FBI has raided a major New York Police Department union in Manhattan. Let me give you some background to this. The New York Daily News reported that the FBI, they have carried out a raid on the Manhattan headquarters of a major union representing New York City police sergeants. According to the narrative, the feds descended on the Manhattan headquarters of the controversial NYPD Sergeants Union Tuesday. The Daily News has learned, reported Stephen Rex Brown and Noah Goldberg. While the details of the investigation were not revealed, an FBI spokeswoman confirmed to the news that the agency was carrying out a law enforcement action in connection with an ongoing investigation into the Sergeants Benevolent Association. The leader of this union is a guy named Ed Mullins. Let's put up a picture of Ed Mullins while he posed with good old Jeff Sessions. There he is. Keep that picture up. I want to remind people of who this guy is. The union leader, Ed Mullins, is a controversial guy. In 2015, Mullins attacked the city settlement with the family of the NYPD chokehold victim, Eric Garner. He called it obscene. He also posted the arrest record of Mayor Bill de Blasio's daughter after she was involved in an incident at a George Floyd protest, which violates NYPD policy, and called City Health Commissioner Dr. Osiris Barbeau the B word, and said there was blood on her hands for not giving officers more personal protective equipment. Wow. That's a big deal, Adrian, the FBI raiding a police union. I haven't heard of it before. Thoughts?
I think it's definitely something of a rarity, and it's my understanding that they also raided Ed Mullins' home in Long Island, which is very interesting as well. And I do wonder what the FBI is up to, but I can sure tell you that Mullins' behavior has been just utter filth. In addition to that long list of disgusting antics, the also called Councilman Richie Torres, who is an openly gay Democrat, called him a first-class whore. Yeah. This gentleman here, he has no class whatsoever. It seems like he's willing to say anything and maybe do anything, which is why he's about to be held accountable, because the feds just don't raid your place and your place of business unless you got something going on.
Especially if you're head of a major damn police union. I mean, obviously there's interconnection here. There are people that may have been members of this union who now work for the federal government and the other way around. Obviously there's friendships here that are connected. So you have the political, you have the personal, you have a lot of things to work through if you're the federal government right now to do this. And I'm reminded, Adrian, of reports that have come out as it relates to other union leaders where they were involved in actively covering up crimes, that they were coaching individuals on how to cover up murders, that they were openly hiding information and going on record, or at least on record with colleagues saying how they covered up crimes for certain people using legal remedy to do so. So I just wonder if none of that got police union leaders in trouble, what in the hell has this guy done when these union leaders can get away with all of that with no issue? Okay, let me take you to another horrific situation. There's a high school security supervisor who has not been terminated for doing this. Let me show you the picture. You see that? Security supervisor at a high school. There's a fight that broke out between two young black female students. They get involved, they separate the fight, and he uses this maneuver. He uses the knee on the teen's neck. in order to subdue the teen. Now, there's some police departments that say, you know what, this is a no-no for grown people, right? So this has been done in a high school setting during a scuffle between two black teen girls. A high school security supervisor decided to use his knee in order to damn near break the neck of this young girl. This is in San Diego. So here's your background. A San Diego school security supervisor. Can I say that again? A San Diego high school security supervisor will not face any steep penalties for his involvement in pinning a black teen to the ground by her neck. Instead, Grossmont Union High District say he was placed on administrative leave. He will be retrained and moved to another school. Well, that'll do it. That's it. All he needed was to be trained. He just needed a different level of training. He needs to know that children, you don't put your knee in their necks. He just needed to know that. He wasn't aware, according to the school district. And the reason why they're not punishing him is even more ironic. The supervisor, whose name is redacted in the report protecting him, is a former sheriff's deputy. That's where he learned to move from. He learned to move from the academy, okay? Former sheriff's deputy who is seen holding down both girls before ultimately restraining one of the participants by kneeling on her neck and holding her hands behind her back. According to the report, now get this, y'all. This makes me mad as hell. According to the report, termination was not recommended due to the supervisor's lack of adequate training. Students who witnessed the fight and security staffers' actions were taken aback. Seemed a little aggressive, like a big burly dude on a freshman. I heard she was a freshman, said one of the seniors. Either way, she's only 14 to 18 years old. So that's kind of, a big 200-pound dude and a smaller female. Yeah, that makes perfect sense, right? Okay. The reason why they're not going to punish this guy, according to them, is because he did not have adequate training. I want to remind you, he's a former sheriff's deputy who is now a freaking security guard. He doesn't have adequate training? What a cop-out. What a way to not stand up for young children. What a way to show your implicit racism and bias against black bodies inside of your district. Let me show you a picture, since they don't want to release the name of this security guard, former cop. Let me show you a picture of the boss, Teresa Kemper, okay? Look at her, she's the one in charge. She's the one that was in charge of the reassignment of this man and ultimately not doing what should have been done. It's a damn shame. Adrian, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think first of all, the man is a former deputy because he's no longer a deputy, which tells me there's probably something wrong there.
Yes.
Also, the fact that he's a supervisor, yet he lacks adequate training, also tells me there's something wrong there, which either says that no, they just didn't train him at all, or also they're also not so training their subordinates. Also, wasn't 2020 training enough? Like, I know not to kneel on people's necks. Like George Floyd, let's do this together, guys, by paying attention. The fact that this man felt completely comfortable putting his knee on the neck of a child and holding her down and claiming I didn't know better tells me that you think I'm stupid. And so definitely that school district, that entire institution has a significant problem. And the next institution that is going to be inheriting this genius of a security guard is also gonna have a problem. Either way, I do hope that girls' parents sue, because lack of adequate training, that tells me that's a school issue, not a student issue.
Very well said. Let me show everyone this last story. I'll put up the picture of the alleged pervert. The alleged pervert, his name is Mark Stennert. This person from Passaic County has been charged with a sex offense against an underage girl, and he got some help from a judge. Here's the background to this horrific story. Mark Stennert, 37, who was arrested was ordered released during a remote court hearing. Superior Court Judge Karasadzki ruled against the prosecutor, who argued for pretrial detention, calling Stennard a danger to the community and a flight risk. Prosecutors charged the guy for endangering the welfare of a child for allegedly manufacturing child pornography, as well as 3 counts of endangering the welfare of a child for allegedly engaging in sexual conduct with a child, plus possessing child pornography and causing harm to a child. Put up the picture of this alleged pervert again. A cop, position of public trust, being held to a lower standard of accountability than anyone else. This is a violation of the typical protocol as it relates to this offense. And let's now put up a picture of the judge who decided to let him go. That's the judge. Oh, no, we can let him go. He's an upstanding individual. When 99% of the time, anyone who does not have that badge before that same judge with these charges, they do not get a bond. Adrian, we're closing out, but what are your thoughts here?
I think it's an unfortunate disgrace, because the fact is you don't face charges like this and there not be at least some kind of weighty evidence, especially when the prosecutors are looking to make sure you are detained pre-trial and you are a white male who is a police officer. So that tells us that there is a lot going on, and the fact that the judge was willing to discount it. And so I do hope that individuals and the communities are safe, because this is a very disconcerting situation.
Absolutely. Pumpkin Lakes Police Department, that's where he works. We will continue to follow this story and see exactly where it goes. It's a pleasure, Attorney Lawrence, always having you on the program. Tell people how they can purchase your book and follow you.
You can check out my book, Staying in the Game, the playbook for beating workplace sexual harassment. It is in the TYT store, as well as everywhere books are sold, Amazon, as well as your local bookstore. And you can follow me on Twitter at Adrian Lawrence, and on Instagram, on Twitter at Adrian Law, Instagram at Adrian Lawrence. Thanks so much.
Always good to have you. We'll talk soon. Ladies and gentlemen, stick and stay. We got the bullpen next.
So a lot of progressive office holders are doing something fun. I like fun. They're doing the last 2 years in 2 minutes. Okay, we're gonna try it here. First, I wanna let you guys know about the years before that. Hey, remember we started the Just Democrats here on the Young Turks. It was officially launched on our air, basically by you guys. And then we featured AOC, we featured Cori Bush, and Ro Khanna became the first ever Just Democrat incumbent, all on the Young Turks. Now, the last 2 years have been a spectacular follow-up to that. So let's put the 2 minutes on the clock and do this. Young Turks got to start back in 2002, and I think we've been an important part of the progressive movement ever since. What we mainly do is amplify the progressive voice and candidates out there, and I think we've done a pretty good job. Right now, we're currently #1 most engaged news politics network online, beating CNN, Fox News, and MSNBC, all of them. We're #1 in total minutes watched. That means not only the number of people watching, but how long they watch. We just crossed 20 million followers and 500 million monthly views. Now, why? That's because actually the country's progressive. It's 2/3 progressive. And you guys have allowed us to be your voice, and we're incredibly thankful for that. So what did we do with that voice? Well, let's look at 2019. We went all over the country talking to you guys and the candidates. So we were in Miami, we were in Detroit, we were in Houston, and we were in Iowa. In fact, we were all over Iowa. You guys were all over Iowa, and all of the candidates saw you guys. We had wonderful people speaking, like the one and only Nina Turner at our rallies. Bernie Sanders stopped by, Andrew Yang, Elizabeth Warren. We interviewed almost everyone on the campaign trail, with the exception of Biden and Buttigieg. And we held them accountable. We even did a progressive economic pledge, and so many wonderful people signed on to that. Bernie Sanders, Warren, Marianne Williamson, AOC, the entire squad, Justice Democrats, and so many others. Now, on top of all that, we started a show called The Conversation, where we featured so many progressive thinkers, writers, and candidates. And one of the candidates we featured in 2019 was Jamal Bowman. Here comes Jamal Bowman. Then we had an amazing 2020. We hired a climate reporter. Damage Report passed 500,000 subscribers. Young Turks passed 5 million subscribers. We're getting the message out to more and more people. Bernie Sanders comes on in the heat of the primary. He comes on after the election to say what we're going to do for the future. And then Marie Newman wins. Jamal Bowman wins. Cori Bush wins. And then just when you thought it couldn't get any better, here comes Nina Turner. Hello, somebody. And she's running for Congress and she comes on the Young Turks first. On election week, we had nearly 2 million hours of viewing. We're #1 destination for progressives. You made all that happen. This is amazing. And thank you for those 2 years. What, I went past 2 minutes? Of course!
Viewers had asked for an interview with the TYT Lizard. Mr. Lizard. Oh, you changed colors today. Nice. I don't even know how you feel about us. Do you even like us?
Well, you guys made me this awesome house, so I'm kind of in your debt. I was found outside on the street, and you gave me a home. Granted, it was a really crappy home for a while, but then through the power of fundraising, I became a person who has a multi-level Trump-style mansion.
You do. By the way, you've never looked better, man. Normally, you're just green or just brown, but today you're in mid-lizard, right?
I'm not very smart. I'm a lizard, so I don't know how the science works. I guess this is just my mood. It's not every day that thresholds like this are broken. I'm just so excited. I can't contain my pigmentation.
And now you're showing it off.
Yep.
Yeah, I've never seen the lizard like this before.
All right, welcome back. We still got a lot of show left, all right? Let me remind you that we have been nominated right here on Indisputable Best TV Anchor. You can vote on that. You know what I love about opportunities like this? It's not some editorial board, and it's not some group of elite people that we've never met. It's actually you the voter. You get to pick this. This is part of Atlanta Magazine's Best of series to recognize the work we do right here, telling the truth on Indisputable. You can vote. Go to tyt.com/Rashad, tyt.com/Rashad. Type in my name in the bar provided. You can do this once a day up until October 11th. I think it cuts off at 12 midnight, October 11th, okay? Also, don't forget, right after Indisputable, Deep Dive with Jordan Ewell, right here. That is a Twitch exclusive. Make sure you stick and stay. twitch.tv/TYT. And then the conversation, right? 5:30 p.m. Eastern time, 2:30 p.m. Pacific time, tyt.com/live before the Young Turks. Make sure to subscribe and watch all of those amazing videos and interviews. youtube.com/TYT conversation. Real simple, real quick, real easy. All right. And we're also on podcast. So wherever you get your podcast, make sure you download Indisputable. Acast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, we're everywhere. And you can take the bullpen, news of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, let me read some of these amazing comments. TYT member, Eric the Red. Always nice when the FBI cracks down on organized crime. I knew somebody was going to say that. Mickey C, the silver-haired dragon. I've had no training in policing. Never have most people. I would wager that the vast majority of us know how wrong and dangerous it is to kneel on someone's neck. Yep. See, this whole he didn't have adequate training, complete cop-out. No pun intended. But for you to be a sheriff's deputy who is now a security supervisor, and you're telling me that the security company is saying, well, we're going to protect you, or the school system is saying, we're going to protect you because we simply did not train you enough. Imagine if that was the excuse for every failure in a professional setting. Oh no, we don't worry about if you made a mistake or if you flat out underperformed. We didn't train you well enough, so it's on us. We're gonna keep you employed here. Doesn't work that way for most people, right? Dragonheart, thank you so much, Dragonheart. Combo 104, thank you, the Doc rocks. Aaron 12 for us. I see a future problem with security guard. It's eerily similar to the Catholic Church moving pedophile priests to a different parish. Nana Nikki, our parents should press criminal charges against the security guard and sue the school administrator who relocated the perpetrator. Agreed. I would take out assault charges. I would take an independent warrant out. And you can do that at your magistrate, at your sheriff's office, but I would absolutely do that for the security guard. Good point. Twitch. A Serious Venture says, wow, the one union group that I've had problems with for decades now, and involving the odious Ed Mullins himself, no less, there is justice in this universe. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the bullpen. In the bullpen today, we got Mr. Ash Wright. He's back in the bullpen. Republican strategist, nationally recognized individual, has a long, extensive, and quite remarkable resume. Mr. Wright, good day. Welcome to Indisputable.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I mean, look, I have a great resume, but nobody's ever nominated me for best TV host in the country. So I think you win on that.
Oh, well, listen, I appreciate that sentiment. I highly doubt you'll be voting for me, though.
I will. I'll go vote for you. You know,
I appreciate
of all the TV hosts that I'm on with, I disagree with you the most, but I think I respect you the most. So,
and listen,
I'll definitely go vote for you.
The feeling is mutual, brother. I appreciate you saying that. So I don't want to presume what you know or believe about border policy. We will chop it up today. Tell us your thoughts about immigration and border policy in this country.
Yeah, I mean, look, the reality is our country has taken this from a standpoint of morality allowing people to come into the border. And so I think it's what we need to do is we need to step back as a nation and relook at the ability to get visas, to come over here for HB-1B visas, to actually be here as a legal citizen. And we need to provide a way of path forward for people that are already here so that they can come out of the darkness and actually live as a part of our society. And with that, though, also means that they need to pay taxes. They need to pay back owed taxes. They need to do all of the things to assimilate into our society. Look, I'm a big supporter of the border wall. I'm not a big supporter of just allowing mass amounts of immigrants. I think there's 60,000 Haitians heading for our border today. I'm not a proponent for that. I'm a proponent for keeping everyone out and having everyone come in legally and not be illegal immigrants. I mean, as you know, a lot of these, illegal immigrants are really just trying to search for a better life, but also they're tainted by some that are criminals, that are drug smugglers, that are really in Mexican gangs, et cetera. And so I think it's just difficult to say that there should be this mass open border, and that just doesn't really work as a country. So I do believe that we have to have a border, and it needs to be a border, but that we have to better our ability to allow people that are truly coming here to have a better life to be able to do that.
I agree with most of what you said. I want to ask you a question. You identify as a white male, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you want to be judged for what 1% of white people do? Would you want to be judged for that?
No, I want to be judged for what I do.
Okay. Less than 1% of those crossing the border are engaged in any criminality, gang affiliation, drug smuggling, anything. Less than 1%. And by the way, even when they are here in America, undocumented, they commit less crimes than native-born individuals in the country. And they also are employed at a rate of 97%, which is higher than native-born Americans, and they contribute more in taxes, even being undocumented, than they would ever use in benefits or services, because you already know it's against federal law for them to even obtain those particular services, et cetera, contrary to the spoken narrative. So let me give you a stat, because like I said, I agree with most of what you said. So that means that now we have to educate and correct the narrative, because most Republicans, this was a poll done not too long ago, roughly 80% of Republicans, they believe that immigration is one of your primary problems in America, undocumented workers, and it's not. They believe it's a threat to the economy, and it is not. They think it's a threat to jobs, and it's not based on the data. So in 2019 alone, Mexican immigrants, undocumented workers, earned 92 billion in household income and contributed about 10 billion back through taxation to the economy of America. So that's your ecosystem issue there. They give way more than they ever could possibly take. But why do you think, brother, there's this emphasis on they're destroying the American economy and they're taking American jobs? And once again, they're not taking American jobs based on every statistical survey we've done. You know who's taking American jobs? Automation. 60 million American jobs have gone to automation. 85 million by 2025. But that's not the monster. The monster is a black or brown individual who's just seeking an opportunity to actually give more to the American economy than they take from it. So how do you change the narrative in the Republican Party? Once again, 80% of your guys believe the narrative that's a lie. And I gotta say this for posterity, 19% of Democrats believe the lie.
Right, I mean, and look, that's right. I mean, and the truth is are there some, in most individuals are coming over here doing nothing but seeking a better life. I think that's fair to say. I think that's, absolutely 100% correct. But that doesn't mean that there aren't a few bad apples in the group. And so what I would challenge you to say is that I believe most Republicans believe that this is economic, but it's also a safety issue for our communities, because it's not just about the immigrant that comes over and gets a job, say, a $6 to $15 an hour job that, and I agree, Republicans say, oh, that would be a job that, American would take. And the reality is Americans don't want those jobs. Americans are educated through the public school system. They believe that they're owed more than $15 an hour. I mean, the average American is really trying to start at $20 an hour nowadays. But it's not just about the hourly wage workers that come over here. This is about not only the safety of those that are coming, and there are bad apples in the process, but the communities that are being affected from those that come over. So, for example, I don't know the last time that you were on the southern border, but I was down in the Rio Grande Valley 3 weeks ago, and when you get a couple of blocks off the border, what used to be a thriving town is now, businesses that are shut down. There's a lot of theft. There's just a lot of trash and homelessness, tent camping, et cetera. And that's difficult for communities because it's not that they're coming over here and taking the jobs. It's that some businesses are being forced to close and businesses that just reopened from COVID. And so I think it's tough to kind of say that, look, when most people are good, and I would agree with you, most people are good. But in almost all other instances of our country, what we do is we do the most to protect those that from the few, right? So for example, in COVID, we said, hey, look, most people aren't going to die from COVID and this is okay, but let's all do our part to protect those few that can't. And in this same exact instance, is it fair to say, look, the 95% that aren't criminals can't come over because of the 5%? And the reality is yes, because when you go ask the mother of the daughter that got killed or raped, and I know that those are very few and far in between instances, they would say yes. And so I think as Republicans and on a moral standpoint, we have to do what's right to protect everybody. And that includes like across the board. And that may mean that some people who want to come in to the country that are just looking for a job can't. But that's why, and this is why I'm such a huge advocate for remodeling our immigration system on the legal side of things. And we spend a lot of time debating, should they be able to come in and reuniting families, et cetera. And the reality is if we spent half the time debating and changing and fixing current laws so that there was essentially a fast pass to US citizenship, then a lot of these other issues could go away for us.
Yeah, I agree with the streamlining of the process. I agree with that point. I heard another conservative make that same point yesterday. Complete agreement with that point. Narratives are important, Ash. They're very important. We tend in our conversation to single out those who are brown or black, okay? The number one violator of overstayed visas in America are Canadians. Right. Canadians, okay?
Absolutely.
And many people know that, right? But all right, we had a technical issue. I'm dropping too much damn truth, okay? So the number one violators of overstayed visas in America are Canadians. Narratives are very important. You have never heard a narrative against Canadians. And there are a certain amount of Canadians that commit crime in the United States of America every single year. But you do not hear a narrative. Let me finish. You don't hear a narrative against Canadians. You don't hear the narrative of, well, yeah, but we have to protect the whole, even though there's just a few. We need to start cracking down on Canadians. And let me bring this to your attention. The vast majority of narcotics, because a lot of this goes back to drugs entering into the United States. The vast majority, over 90% of narcotics that come into the United States do not come through illegal pathways or underground or people climbing a wall or tunneling under a wall. It actually comes through US ports of entry. Trains and boats bring most of your dope in the United States of America, okay? And then if you look at the statistics from the US Customs Border and Protection Agency, they have this on their website currently. 90% of heroin, 90% of cocaine, 87% of methamphetamine, 80% of fentanyl, all came from legal crossing points. We're talking about people literally driving their cars, trying to get through the border agencies, having documentation to move forward, right? Not using the illegal methodology or the methodology of coming through the border through one of these tunnels, et cetera. And I also got to remind you, brother, there's not a wall that a man can build that another man cannot climb over or tunnel under. It doesn't exist. And it never will. So you all have this emphasis on the wall, and Democrats went through this phase too. They were wall crazy at one point as well. It doesn't fix your problem. Ports of entry, boats, trains, and the narrative of how drugs get into this country has been misguided from day one in order to affix a false criminalization on brown people who are seeking opportunity.
Well, look, I want to talk about the Canadian aspect first and go back for just a second to what you were talking about, because part of I agree with you in a sense that Canadians are the people that most overstay their visas. The difference is, though, is that Canadians also apply for more visas than anywhere else, right? Which is different from anywhere in South America or from Haiti, where we have 60,000 people coming up, but hardly any of them actually ever apply for visas. So there's a difference.
I know there's a difference, brother, but Ash, listen to me. If that dynamic were connected to a black or brown country, you would hear about it. If a black or brown country was the #1 violator of overstayed visas in America, even if they're the ones who apply for more than anybody else, you would at least be aware. 90% of people have no idea that Canadians are the #1 violators of that immigration policy. And there's a reason for that, brother, is my point. There's a reason why the narrative does not stick to them, but it sticks to black and brown people. Lies stick to black and brown immigrants, and the truth won't stick to white ones.
Well, I mean, look, I mean, there's a difference between overstaying your visa and entering the country legally. I agree that we don't hear about Canadian because it's a first world country. I won't use the term because it's a white country. It's because it's a first world country, because they contribute to the world, they contribute to society. They're an advanced culture. That's not the case in Mexico. That's not the case when these individuals walk through. When these migrants come from far South America and march through these countries, they're different than the people that are applying for work visas out of Canada. There just is a difference, regardless of their skin color. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying you have to accept the fact that a migrant that's come over by sea from Haiti to South America and marched hundreds of thousands of miles up to the US border is different from a Canadian that applied for a visa and waited 4 to 5 years, got into the country, and then overstayed their visa. And frankly, while they paid taxes and did everything else legally, except for possibly overstayed their visas. Now, I also wanted to get to the drug issue.
All right, before you get to that, to say that Mexico is basically a third world country is a false comparison. You can't say that about Mexico. And to say they don't contribute like Canada, Mexico contributes more to our economy than Canada does. So how can you say, oh, the reason why Canada gets a pass is because they have all of this cultural connection and they give back and they're this, when Mexico outpaces them in economy and everything else as it relates to the American revenue taxation system? How can you say that?
And look, maybe I didn't speak correctly. I was talking about more on a global stage, meaning that Canada is more of a world economic player. But absolutely, Mexico is our
You're making my point, brother. You're making my point. You don't want to say it, Ash. It's because it's a country of white people. You don't want to say it, but damn it, you know in your heart it's real.
No, it's a country of people that come here legally and then overstay their visas versus
some of them come here legally as well.
From day one. There's a huge difference there. But I do want to talk about the drug trade. I agree with you. Most immigrants that are coming over are not bringing drugs on their bodies. They're crossing the river. That is still breaking the law. Coming into this country legally is breaking the law. You are still an illegal immigrant. The drug problem, and I know just yesterday they found, I think, like $2 or $3 million worth of cocaine on one drug stop at a border patrol. And part of what I believe should be changed here is, and I don't know if you've ever been down to the border, but when you drive through these border stops, most Americans that have never actually been down to the border believe that these border stops are literally right on the border. But a lot of them are almost 100 miles inland. And so what we do is we allow individuals, they come through, they check on, a truck, et cetera, at the border, and then they're able to kind of disperse. And then as they move up into the nation, they go through another border check. And those border checks are where they actually collect, like when you go through those, they'll say, oh, we collected, 1 million pounds of cocaine last year, et cetera. They've got these signs up. But we need to move those and do those checks actually at the border. So because there shouldn't be that 100-mile instance where you can be a part and be in America. And that not only would make our neighborhoods safer in South Texas, but would also stop that ability. I think we need to use more technology and just putting more border patrol. I mean, the CBP, I support Greg Abbott and all the other Republican governors that are down on the border today and tomorrow. I think what they're doing is right, but a lot of times bodies isn't the answer. We're essentially just making our own human wall, when the reality is we should be using technologies to stop the drug trade.
All right, and let me also remind you, brother, that the American population, makes up 5% of the global population, but consumes 70% of the drugs. There's a consumer market. Why do you think dope dealers are trying to get to America? Because of the consumer market in the United States of America. And let me also remind you that the same federal law that says it is against the law to hire an undocumented worker, that same federal law, the subsection says, or the federal law that says it is illegal to be an undocumented worker says it's illegal to hire an undocumented worker. And 88% to 90% of people that come to this country undocumented come here because of work. They're trying to actually make a living. Well, you don't see these CEOs and hiring managers and HR managers and recruitment directors. You never see them get arrested. You will see 600 undocumented workers get arrested at a warehouse and the CEO has to pay a fine. Do you think that's a fair execution of the law when in essence they are breaking the same federal law?
No, if you break the same federal law, you need to pay the same punishment, for sure, 100%.
Brother, always a pleasure to have you. Go ahead, you have the last word, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say that, I think in our country, to your point, I think that we have a drug problem, but the drug problem really stems because we have a family unit problem. And a lot of these drug usage is being done by children that grow up in single parent homes or, individuals that have dads in prison or moms in prison or moms and dads that are illegal immigrants.
The research data does not support your conclusion. The research data shows that there's no statistical difference between a 2-parent household and a 1-parent household as it relates to excessive use of alcohol and or illicit drugs.
Well, let's discuss. I know you got to go, but let's discuss that on the next time I'm on.
We'll do that, brother. We'd love to. Always a pleasure having you on Indisputable. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, good luck in your vote.
Thank you, man. All right, don't forget to stay for Deep Dive with Jordan Yule. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.